All right, thank you all for joining us tonight. I know this is a crazy week leading up to kayaking finals / time trials. So we're going to get this going and try to get through and get to any questions you guys have. So tonight we're going to talk about the time trials that we had to add in to this year's competition. Very unique situation, but it happens. It was for the safety of our athletes, and to make it fair for all of our athletes, we wanted to make sure we had the time trials. So we'll go over some of the time trials and what's happening there, as well as the schedule. Facility layout hasn't changed, so that's not anything, but I still wanted to show you guys the maps just so everyone's aware of where everything is going to be happening. And then go over a couple logistical things and the weather. Then we'll get to any questions everyone has. If everyone can mute their phones and just hit #6, we can mute them and then unmute them at the end of the call. So the time trials, as per my email, it's going to consist of one race per athlete. So if they're in the 500, 200, and 1,000, one of the longer distance races, they will get a score from the 500 and the 200. We'll have two separate sets of timers to get both those scores. So we'll have a group of timers at the 200 to get those scores once they pass that finish line. But the racers will continue to the 500. We will use the times from the 500 to division the 1,000. That way the athletes aren't doing more than they actually have to getting the time trials for the 1,000. If the athletes are doing the shorter distances, which is the 100 and 200, then they will do the 200-meter length, and we will have a set of timers at the 100-meter mark to get a score for that as well. So again, these athletes will get a score for the 100 and 200, but they will complete the 200 for the time trials. If an athlete or team misses their time trials, they will not be able to compete in the finals for a place award. They can still compete, but they can only participate, or they can only compete for a participation ribbon. So if an athlete shows up late and misses their time trials for when their division was supposed to go off, we really we don't have time in the schedule to add them in at the end. So if they miss their time trials, they can compete in the finals only for participation. And that's going to be a big thing. Make sure everyone knows and has their athletes there on time. Here's a copy of the schedule for Saturday. It's going to be a packed day. We'll check in at
Melissa, can you hold for a second? Whoever has a dog in the background, you happen to mute your phone. Could you please mute your phone by pressing *6 so that others can hear Melissa? If we need to go and mute everybody, we will, but we'd prefer not to because that hurts questions. And then if everybody can mute your phone using the mute function on your phone, or you can use *6. Thanks, Melissa. It sounds like the person was able to do that.
Yep. Thanks, Mike. So for the schedule for Saturday, like I said, it's going to be a very packed day. We're going to have delegation check-in at 8 a.m. This is when the kayaks will be loaded into the staging area, as well as the same time as the 1K course preview. We always allow this. We're shortening it a little bit this year so that all kayaks have to be off the water by 8:30 a.m. So it gives them a half an hour to go out in the water, check out the course, the 1K course. If an athlete goes out, make sure they have to be accompanied by a coach. They cannot go out by themselves. That is a big thing. We will start time trials at 9 a.m. So the athletes that are scheduled for the 500, which we will get times for the 500, 200, and 1K, will start at 9 a.m. And the time trials for the 200, so the 100 and 200 meter races only, will start at 10:30. We don't have as many of those, which is why it shouldn't take us as long. But we are going to get through these as quick as possible so that all the athletes that showed up on time for their scheduled time get their time trials in. We'll have opening ceremonies at 11 a.m. and then approximately 11:45 we will start the final competition. So 11:45 is when the finals, the championship races start. We'll start with the 500-meter races, just like always. We'll move to the 100-meter, the 200-meter, and then the 1K. We usually have that lunch break built in there. We do not have that this year. The only built-in breaks we actually have this year, which really isn't a lot, are to have the timers move from location to location per race. So there will not be a lunch break for the athletes to just make sure they're eating between the races. All right, keep track of the heat sheets that we'll hopefully be able to get to you little by little once the divisioning is done for the finals, but make sure they are eating after opening ceremony starts. We're hoping to be done by 5 o'clock. And like I said, there's a little buffer built into these, but that's mainly to get the timers from one spot to the other so that they can be ready for each race.
Melissa, one other note. I'm not sure that whether you said this or not. We will be sending out to folks their scheduled staging times for time trials in advance. We've got that all scheduled. We're just have to do a little work to get it in a report format. So you will know ahead of time in the next day or so when each of your athletes is slotted to do their time trials. And you can also verify that everybody's taken care of, that we didn't make a mistake. We're human. We make mistakes. I think everything is exactly the way it needs to be, but that'll give you a chance to check that as well.
Thanks, Mike. Also, we need your help as coaches and have your volunteers helping us to make sure we are staying on schedule, which means getting your athletes to staging at their time. We're going to have the PA systems like we always do right there to be calling out the heats and divisions that are about to race and that need to be at staging, but kind of just keep track, listening, because if we're ahead, you got to have your athletes there for us so that we can keep the day moving. This is just an overview of downtown Chester. So to get to the boathouse, it's right on Cross Street, so it's pretty easy to get to. Just an overview of the map. Not the best map, but we put it in there.
It does have an address. It's 443 Cross Street, but it doesn't make any difference. They don't have a sign out front.
Yeah, and we'll have arrows and all of that directing you to the location. So we'll make sure we have all that out for you before Saturday morning comes. So thank you, Jack, for that address. So this is a Google Map image of the course and of the location. Letter A is the boathouse. Everyone, please have your parents and families park in the field. We'll have cones marking it off. So please make sure you don't park anyone in. Just be conscious of that. I mean, there's plenty of space, and there's going to be more than enough room for everyone to park. But just, we'll have cones out so that you know where to park. G is on the shoreline. That's where everyone, all the families, will be able to sit and watch from the shoreline, watch the races. I is where we're going to park the trailers, same place as always. If you're going down the main road right to the dock, it's going to be on the right-hand side. Just make sure that stays out of the way and is not blocking anything.
But be sure that when you go down there to park, you go out on the grass to get to park your trailer.
Yes.
Don't go down the gravel road and then try to cut through.
Also, when you're unloading, please be conscious that we have somewhere in the neighborhood of 14 delegations that need to unload. So unload your trailer and then move it so it's not blocking that main walkway over to the staging area. Folks have been pretty good about that in the past, but sometimes people have been a little forgetful, get tied up with something else, and leave their vehicle for a while blocking everything. So just be conscious of that and work together to make that go smoothly.
Thanks. And letter D is where we're going to have the staging. We'll have signs out just like always to let you know where to have each delegation place their kayak. Please make sure they stay in front of your own sign and delegation area. We will have a lot of kayaks. We'll make sure we try to give everyone a good amount of room as needed. So we're going to have awards and opening in the pavilion. We had opening there last year, and it worked out pretty well. So we're going to actually move awards there as well. So that's a new change this year, but we think it will be well worth it, and it will be a good fit for our awards. This is just more of an overview of the course. It is an approximation, so I apologize for my drawing. But the 100, 200, and 500 are all straightaways, and the 1K, the athletes, same as last year, go around the 2 buoys and end back at the dock. Okay, just to kind of see where we are from this view. A, again, is the boathouse. B is the dock, which is going to be a held start again. So we will have volunteers there holding the kayaks. Once it's time to go, the volunteers will let go, and they're on their way for a race. D is the spectator area, which is the shoreline, so that kind of gives you a little perspective of where everything is from this angle. If you can see in the bottom left-hand corner, there's letter E. That is another dock, which is visible from the start line. Kind of harder to see from the shoreline, but it's still pretty visible from there. So the athletes will go all the way to that other dock. To, I believe, Jack, there's
Is this for the 500?
Yes.
Yeah.
There'll be a pole there that you'll be able to tell where the finish line is.
And we'll have great big buoys at the finish line for people to be able to. They won't be all the way across the course. They'll be at the sides of the finish line. The basically what amounts to is their turn buoys as well as finish line buoys at the 500, and at the 200 and the 100. They'll be there, and if we can make it work, we'll try to put more buoys out. The plan now is to use yellow buoys for the 100-meter finish, bright pink buoys for the 200, and great big red ones. These things are 36 inches in diameter. Will be at the 500 finish.
Great, thanks, Jack. And all the coaches will see that on Saturday, so if you want to see that, you can show your athletes what each color is.
Excuse me, so you said white was 100?
Yellow.
Okay, thank you.
No white. Can't get them.
All right, some just logistical things to go over. For registration, please have one person, preferably the head coach, check in the delegation, provide us with all scratches. Don't send me emails now saying this person won't be there. Scratch them the day of. Makes it just easier with everything that's happening. While the head coach is checking in, please have everyone else unloading the boats and placing the kayaks in the staging area, as well as labeling the kayaks. Again, that's going to be a big thing to make sure we can get moving. Having them all labeled helps the volunteers in staging get things going a little faster. The coaches meeting will be at 8:30 in the pavilion. Please have one coach there, preferably the head coach again. If the head coach is not able to come, we need one person per delegation. All right, head coach or assistant coach, we need at least one per delegation to just go over a few things for the morning of. As I said before, opening and awards will be held in the pavilion, which is right next to the staging area. It's hard to miss. We'll have signs, of course, and banners, but it's very hard to miss. It's the pavilion to the left of staging. Parking, like I said, please unload all the kayaks into the staging area and then move the trailer to the parking area. And as Jack mentioned, go around into the actual parking area to let the trailers off where they are. Do not go from the gravel lot to the trailer parking. There's not enough room. They will get stuck in that area. And please make sure all the trailers are removed from the staging area before the coaches meeting. Delegation spots, the best thing to do is bring your pop-up tents and position them in areas, in all the open areas. There's going to be plenty of open areas to do that. We, SOMD, will not provide pop-up tents for families and athletes. So make sure if your families and athletes want a pop-up tent, please make sure you bring it because we will not have extras for you. Just be mindful of other areas. Don't take up a huge area just so you have extra space. Be mindful that there are other areas coming, and there are other areas that need space as well. So just be mindful to other areas when you are claiming your spots. We SOMD, will have a pop-up tent at the 100-meter finish on the shoreline. There will be some chairs under there. Please, please, please make sure your families do not take those chairs from that tent. All right, that is set for our timers only. Okay, that's a big thing. Do not let them take the chairs. Those chairs are not for the families. Those are for our volunteers and timers during the 100-meter race. Even if no one is in the even if we're not doing the 100-meter race and the chairs are not being used, we're still going to have them sitting there. Please don't let your families take the chairs. Speak to them ahead of time and let them know that that is for the 100-meter race and not to take those chairs. As always, access to the pier, we talked about this in the last two webinars, but access to the pier is limited to competition personnel only. If an athlete needs to, if a coach needs to swap athletes out because of the kayaks that they're using, that is the only time that they need to be on that dock. And they will go out right before their race, swap, and then leave the dock. It's not.
So we should know that ahead of time.
Correct. Yeah. That's not time for the coaches to sit there and watch from the dock. Okay, it's going to be crowded enough with all the people at the start line, all of our volunteers. Mike Myers is running the start line again, and he has full permission to kick coaches off of that dock. If you're in the way, if you kick the ball.
I don't want to push you in.
And he probably will. Lunches, as always, we'll have box lunches provided for all registered delegation members. That's all the volunteers that were previously registered. If they weren't previously registered, then they're not going to get a lunch. Those lists have been sent out multiple times. Make sure everyone that needs to be on there was on there. The weather for this weekend is looking amazing. For Saturday, and I got these temperatures this morning. Saturday is supposed to be 89, sunny, no chance of rain. A little bit of wind, which is going to be great. Low humidity. It's going to be a perfect day. So we'll need your help, obviously, to make this the best competition. It's going to be a long day, like I said. So we want to just make sure that we can make this the best competitions for the athletes. They're going to be exhausted, but it's going to be well worth it. As I said previously, this is very unusual circumstances, very unique circumstances that we have to do the time trials the same day as the final competition. But with your help, we can get through this and make it the best for the athletes. So we're going to go ahead, Jack.
For those of you who are running athletes, who might be a little nervous about doing the time trial and then the other, explain to them that the time trial is a good warm-up, okay? Just put it in that context, and they'll be fine.
Thanks, Jack. So we're going to go through some questions right now, one at a time, please. We're not going to, so I'll call off some areas, and once I call your area, you can unmute your phone if you have any questions, and then we'll move on to the next one. So we'll start with, and I'm not going in any order here, it's just going. Anna Rundle?
Hi, Melissa. I had a couple of questions, and if we could go back to the slide, the second slide that showed the Google Maps where you can see the entire length of the 500-meter course. I had a couple of questions on that for you and or Jack. Mm-hmm. And my questions would be that once we get to the 1,000-meter event, will those lane lines be pulled out of the way so that the athletes don't have to cross over them, or will they be in place and I need to let my athletes know that they'll be crossing over those lane lines?
You mean at the finish?
So the lane lines are actually under the water.
They're going to start on the outside and run down the outside of the course and come back on the outside of the course. They do not go in the course.
Okay.
They can if they want, but it's not going to benefit them.
Okay. Well, just looking at the diagram showing where they make the one turn for the short middle leg, it shows crossing the lanes, and I was just wondering whether those lines
They're
were
crossing the bottom of the lanes beyond the finish line.
Okay. All right, then.
Yeah, look at my map. It's just a kind of an estimate. It's
okay.
Not exactly perfect.
All right. And then the other question for the 1,000, Jack, is it going to matter for the finish line? You're probably going to have a buoy out there straight out from the end of the pier.
That's correct.
Does it matter which side of that buoy they cross the finish line? Or does that
not as far as I'm concerned. Just remember, we are setting that buoy to try to guide them so they run the minimum distance, okay?
Okay.
You know, I have a paddler that comes around, and for some reason he likes to paddle up the middle of the river and then turn and come back in.
Uh-huh.
And, there's nothing I can do other than tell him you're going to make a long race out of it. But the purpose of the buoys is to give the people a target to come back to.
Right. Okay. So they can finish on either side of it then.
As far as I'm concerned, yes.
Okay. Thanks.
Because we use a fixed point, reference point on the far shore, and where they want to finish is up to them. But the further out they go, the more distance they paddle.
Sure. Got it. All right. That's all my questions. Thank you.
No problem.
By the way, for those of you who were here last year and we had the very, very low tide, that's going to occur like at 7 or 8 o'clock in the evening, so we should be all right on that.
And also, just to clarify, I think, Melissa, you were about to mention this with Al's question. The lanes, there isn't actually a line that they will go over. It's a series of buoys that are in a line. The actual line that they're attached to is, Jack, what, a good 3 or 4 feet under the water, something like that?
It's sitting right on the bottom.
Yeah, so So there's not while there's a perceptual, a visual line that they're crossing, there's not an actual physical rope or cord or cable that they would in any way, shape, or form be touching. When they cut across there. So I know, in case folks weren't aware of that, or if you're new, you weren't there last year, don't be concerned about that. They're not going to get caught on a line cutting across there, unless somehow their boat goes all the way down to the bottom of the river, so, which hopefully won't happen.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. I appreciate that, and I had forgotten that that's the way that Jack has the course set up. So, okay, good deal. Thanks again.
Thanks, Mike. I was going to mention that. All right, lower shore. Any questions from the lower shore?
She's going to practice with us tomorrow.
Okay. Let's see. St. Mary's, any questions?
I'm good.
What I would like to have everybody realize, we're doing something very, very unique, but in my mind is actually a very, very doable thing with the held starts and the way we launch and retrieve. It's a very, very doable type of thing, and I think one of the benefits of this is that your athletes are not going to have time just to sit around and wonder what's happening, and things are going to happen. Okay, so their interest is going to be kept in the race, so to speak. And so, I really think that this is going to come off actually faster than we think it will, especially with the way Mike is setting up the race headquarters in a classroom adjacent there at the boathouse, so that they receive all the results. As soon as people cross the finish line, they get the results, and then that allows the timers to get right back on for the next race. The advantage of the held start is that by the time somebody is halfway down the course, the next group of paddlers is ready to run. So it's not something that we sit around for 10 minutes trying to get people on the line. It takes only 2 or 3 minutes to get them online, and by that time, everybody is ready to go with the next thing. So this can go very nice, very quickly. Everybody's just got to kind of be a little flexible and work with it.
Thanks, Jack. And Mike Myers has everything set for how he wants to start. With the start line, it's going to run extremely smooth. He's been doing this for a couple years now. And Steve Whiting and Jim Garlock will be doing the staging area again, along with Tyson Whiting. So the three of them did it last year, have it running extremely smooth, and we'll be able to get the boats out pretty quickly.
Yep.
And get everything started pretty quick.
Melissa, if I may, so for everyone's kind of peace of mind, as Jack stated, 2 to 3 minutes. Our plan is to have a race go off inside of every 3 minutes during the block of time for each set of races. So when we start the 500-meter races, race is going to start. There's going to be people in position to time at the end of the race course. That race goes off. Within 3 minutes before they finish, hopefully we'll have enough timers at the end of the race course to have a second division off and running before that previous division has crossed the finish line. So that should give enough leeway every 2.5 to 3 minutes to get folks far enough down the race course so there's no imposition. So that's the goal.
One other note, just to reassure folks on the schedule. While this won't affect or really help the time trials, but the competition schedule, the blocks that Melissa showed on the previous calendar, schedule rather, was based on the assumption that nobody scratches. And while we won't be able to reset the time trial portion based on scratches, those would be reducing the number of actual heats or divisions that'll have to go off during the finals, which will shave off a chunk of time as well. So We're saying 5 o'clock. I think plan on 5 o'clock, but there's a good opportunity that we could be done a bit earlier than that. So we're pretty confident that barring some major significant obstacle that we're not anticipating, we'll be doing really well for the.
Great, thank you all.
And also, while I've got you on the phone, I'd like to thank Melissa for coming out and helping me set 3 of the 4 lines. It was a learning experience, and it really worked.
Definitely a learning experience. Okay, let's get back to the questions. Carroll County.
Hey, Melissa, can you hear me?
I can.
This is Jen. I had a question about, I understand that on the fly you are going to be setting up the competition and when everybody is going to be going and the timing. Are we going to get paper copies of those, or are we relying just on announcements as coaches? I was just curious about that.
Like Mike Zonowski said, we'll get you the time trials papers ahead of time, and for the finals races, we'll get them to you as quick as we can. It might not be at the start of the race for the 500s, but we'll get them to you as quickly as we can.
Yeah, Jen, just to reassure you, I'm going to be sequestered. Unfortunately, I'll miss most of the event, at least the beginning, but I'll be sequestered in that classroom cranking this stuff out. As soon as the 500s are done, we're going to division and get the stuff out there as quickly as we can for the 500. So you should actually be receiving or be able to pick that up. That should be ready during opening ceremonies. Obviously, don't leave opening ceremonies to pick it up, but you can get it right afterwards. And of course, we'll make announcements. While that then is going on, I'll get the rest of them done, and we'll make every effort to then get you at least that time sequence printout that we've provided. You'll probably get that about midway through the 500, but that should help you for your other races. There is a slight chance that we can get those labels that have for each individual athlete. I can't promise that we can do that in any kind of a timely manner, but if we can, we know how helpful that is, having that with the athlete. But yeah, we're going to do everything we can to get it out to you as quickly as possible. This is a model that we've used. We haven't used it recently, but we used to run our winter games based on this, at least one of the days where we had time trials and competition the same day. And as long as people don't keep bothering me about, is it ready, is it ready, is it ready, we'll get it done very quickly.
Okay, great. So we'll just wait for an announcement, and there will be like a physical paper copy that we can pick up.
Absolutely. We are limited in the number of copies that we can make, so please don't expect 20 copies for your delegation. But yes, you will have hard copies that you can utilize.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Frederick.
Yeah, I don't have any questions. I just a comment. Just let the stagers stage. Don't pull volunteers from the staging because they need to be there to make sure everything runs smoothly. So just make sure that you let the stagers stage and hang back, because everything will run fine as long as everybody's not jumping in there trying to so-called help stage everything. So just let the stagers manage the volunteers and get it all together, because it'll work.
Good point.
Steve, Jim, and Tyson do a great job. They have their system. They'll have their volunteers. If they ask for your help, that's when you jump in and help. But like Steve said, please just let them do their thing. Thanks, Steve.
Sure. Thanks.
This is John
Garrett
Kohler.
County?
This is John Kohler from Carroll.
Hi.
I have a suggestion about the timing schedule. There's once it's put out there that you can photograph it with your smartphone and share it through email or text. Then people can have it available to them.
It's a great idea. Thank you for that. Garrett County, any questions? Okay, Montgomery County?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yep. Yes, I can.
Okay, I have some points on buoy-related matters. Last year, at the 200, I think it was, it wasn't clear to athletes when when the course had been run, and then what happened was some of the people in boats on the water, the volunteers, then parked themselves in the lanes past the conclusion of the race course, and that worked. I just want to point out that that was an issue of athletes it not being clear to athletes where the race ended. It might have been for the.
I will have 4 to 6 paddlers stationed at each finish line to stop the paddlers when they get there.
Excellent. Moving on from there. For the 1K, my recollection of last few years has been that on the going out leg, there's no special markings, that the athletes just have the sight line of the far right line. Is that correct so far?
Shoreline, you're right.
Okay. Then what I don't remember so clearly is, have there been, will there be, should there be any buoys on the return leg between the point where they turn to go back and the big buoy that's going to be at the end of the course?
Okay, for some reason, I'm not sure why, you're not hearing what I said earlier. You're going to be running, your athletes will be paddling down the outside of the outside lane. There are buoys every 20 meters along that lane, all the way down to the turn.
I didn't get that. I didn't get that. That's what you said.
That's what we've always had. We've always had that, and we try to explain. And this is something that the message doesn't get to the athletes, apparently, because I've watched them go, all over the place. But you really want to tell them they're going to have a string of buoys on their left, going down and coming back. And they want to stay right next to that string of buoys.
Okay, that's clear. I just thought, and I could be hallucinating, I thought that there was a freestanding buoy or two on the return end in past years. If it did not the case, and I thought that was a little confusing. If that's not the case, then fine, and you've answered my question. Then the order is there any order for the 500 time trial of athlete order other than just random order?
Fastest to slowest.
Is there any generic approach to how you're going to order the athletes going, at what sequence they go in the 500 time trials?
Sure. We worked the schedule out today in terms of the specific time assignments. The 500, the unified doubles will go first, and then they're in divisions based on fastest to slowest with whatever score that we have. That'll save some time as well, so that we don't have each heat is time to take each heat is determined by the slowest kayaker in that. But this should, based on how accurate your scores are that you sent in, realizing that conditions will vary based on the when you took your time trial score. There are a couple athletes for whom we weren't able to get a 500-meter score, so those are all at the very end. I think it's 1 or 2 heats of them. But yeah, it is.
Did you use as one of your ingredients, Mike, last year's times for athletes for whom those times exist?
Yes, we went through everything. There's still, I think, 4 or 5 in the 500 and 1 or 2 in the 200. The 200 time trial, which is for the people in the 100 and 200, for whom we couldn't find a score at all. So.
Okay, and then my last 2 things are just to confirm 2 things that I believe the answer will be yes, but I'm just going to ask it anyway. The words that will be uttered at the start of races will be racers ready.
Correct. Paddlers ready.
Paddlers ready?
If you want racers ready, then we can change it, but that's up to Mike and the others. But we've always used the command paddlers ready, go.
No, that's not accurate. That's not what was used last year.
Yes, actually, Alan is correct. We did use Racers Ready. Alan's
That's fine. Whatever you want to use. That's not my responsibility.
I've been training my athletes all season that the words are Racers Ready.
You're correct.
I would certainly want it to be Racers Ready.
Yes, it is.
Okay, I'll retrain mine.
Okay, and then my last question, confirming is, Melissa will get slides, these slides, when do you think?
Tomorrow.
Okay, I'm done. Thank you.
No problem. Baltimore City. Mike, any questions?
No, I think I'm good for right now.
All right. Did I miss anyone, or I'm sorry? Okay. Did I miss anyone, or is there any more questions that we didn't go over?
Upper Shore and our friends from Pennsylvania, we missed.
Hartford County?
Oh, Hartford.
Sorry, Hartford. Pat, I'm sorry.
What about it? Upper Shore is fine. We practice on the course all the time.
The question is, will the public address system be audible to us when we're in our pop-up tents over on the side of the river?
So we ordered sound systems that the one that we got is, from what we were told, used for outdoor weddings, so it's a little more powerful. So we're doing our best to make sure you do hear everything that is said, and we can get that over to you. So we're hoping.
Great. Very good. Thank you very much.
No problem. Any other questions?
Melissa, if I can interject on that, if we know the approximate start times of when your athletes are supposed to report, which you will, as long as if we're running ahead, which I hope, then just be prepared to be a little bit early. But if you know those approximate staging times, then you should be in that direction when they're calling for the for that athlete's division anyway.
Thanks, Mike.
I think the key with that is don't be reliant on the PA system. It's your responsibility once you get the start times or staging times for your division to make sure that you get your athletes there on time. The announcing is strictly a backup, courtesy, whatever. It's still your responsibility. Saying, I didn't hear an announcement for my athlete's heat is not an excuse for not having your athlete there on time.
So I have a follow-up question to that.
Okay. Go ahead.
Hello?
Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes, someone said they had a follow-up question, and then we didn't hear him anymore.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay. This is Jen from Carroll County. Earlier, it was mentioned that we would maybe at times be trying to run ahead of schedule, and at that point it seems like we do need to also depend on those announcements if we are running ahead of schedule. Is that correct?
That's correct, but what we will also be telling you, and if I need to walk to each coach and find them, we'll let you know we're 15 minutes ahead of schedule, or we're 30 minutes ahead of schedule.
Okay. Okay, great.
As backup. If we are that far ahead of schedule, we will do that personally, and then also, if for some reason that system fails and we're not able to get to each coach, we'll hold that particular heat and let the heats where everybody's ready to go ahead.
Okay, great. Thanks for the clarification.
Sure. No, it's a good question. Thank you.
All right, are there any more questions for this weekend? Okay, well, I want to thank everyone for being on the call tonight and taking the time out. We look forward to a great day on Saturday. It's going to be gorgeous, so it's going to be a great day for some kayaking.
I'd like to say a thank you to everybody for taking the time, as Melissa said. Also, a huge thank you to Jack Brosius, who is our our host and to Washington College, but Jack in particular, for everything he's doing and has done to make this event a success. We quite honestly would not be able to do this without everything that Jack has done. So don't want to embarrass him on the phone, but please have your athletes and folks come up and thank him after he's got the event running. But come up and thank him on Saturday.
I will be circulating around. I have a team that's going to be managing my team, a team of coaches. So I will be around, putting out fires or whatever is needed. So if people have questions, I can answer those too.
Melissa and or Mike, I got a question for you that's not directly related to the whole group, so if you can stick on the line after we shut this thing down, I got something I want to run by you.
Sure.
Sure, no problem. And I just want to echo Mike and thank Jack. Setting up that course, not an easy task. I know that firsthand now. So I just want to thank Jack so much for all that he does and all the time and effort that he puts into this to make it the best we can for our athletes. Okay. So like Mike said, if you can, once the competition starts, families, athletes, coaches, just find Jack and give him a big thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, well,
thank you.
Have a good night, and we will see everyone on Saturday.